All right. Hey guys, I'm going to be out for a while. I'm quarantined. So I'm going to be doing these lesson videos to go along with your assignments. I will be available at the beginning of class for about the first 30 minutes. I will have Zoom open. If you have questions, you're welcome to log in. I'll help you with assignments, answer any questions you have. Um, Your assignments will still be due at the time posted in Teams, and I will be posting all of your assignments in Teams. Whatever I post will be graded. Just because I'm not there doesn't mean I'm giving you busy work. So make sure you're doing the assignments, you're watching these videos. Log in to Zoom at the beginning of class if you need to talk to me in person. Well, if you need to talk to me virtually. Um, I will be available all day during the school day by email and remind as well. And especially for you distance learners who have a little more flexibility, if you need me to Zoom with you sometime, some other time during the day, just send me a remind message and I will be happy to log in and help you out. Um, I'll be posting a couple of these videos a week. I can't force you to watch them, but they will be very helpful in completing your assignments. So it's in your best interest to do so. Okay, so real quickly, the classes are in a different place with these sonnets. So I'm going to go ahead and go over all of them, and then you should be able to complete your reading comprehension questions and the 3 worksheets posted in Teams. Now, I have made some notes on here. They're a little hard to read. Sorry about that, but you can only do so much with an Apple Pencil and an iPad. So, this first sonnet is Sonnet 12. We have actually already gone over that in class, but real quick review. All of these poems that we're looking at in this grouping have a similar theme. It's related to aging and time. Okay, Shakespeare's Sonnet 12. I think most of us have already gone over this one, but just as a quick review, in the first quatrain, we immediately see that he's talking about time. Um, Day is good and brave, and night is hideous. So you can assume that day represents the your younger years in life, and night represents your years in life when you're closer to death. He also talks about a violet being past prime, which would mean it's starting to wilt, it's aging. You also have sable curls, which would be a brown hair that's starting to turn white, which is another representation of aging. In the second quatrain, he is comparing the barren trees of late fall or winter to the summer trees that were once in full canopy and sheltered the herd from the heat. And then he goes on to talk about summer's green being all girded up in the sheaves, which is really kind of a hint at rebirth or conception or procreation, whatever you want to talk, however you want to say it. But even in the middle of winter or the end of winter, there's actually rebirth happening inside plants, and that's kind of what he was referring to. So, and then this born on a bier. So basically, this is representing death. It's something that a corpse or a coffin would sit on. So the trees are actually being reborn or coming back to life on what you think of as dead branches. Um, so that's what he's kind of comparing that to. And then he starts to question beauty. Is beauty really important? We know it is going to be ravaged by time. Um, and it doesn't matter how sweet and beautiful you are, um, time is going to take care of beauty, but as your beauty fades, you can see others grow. And this is where we get back into that. He's hinting more about birth and creation, the creation of new beauty as old beauty fades. Um, and then in the couplet, he goes on to say, and nothing against time's scythe. So you think about that, gives me the an image of like the Grim Reaper and his scythe or the sickle, whatever it is he carries, cutting through things. So there's nothing you can do to defend against time's scythe except breed, um, have babies, create new beauty. So you're actually, what he's saying here is you're actually defying time, defying aging by creating new beauty or by creating children. They will live on after you, um, and therefore you're actually defying time. All right, Sonnet 60. Like as waves make towards the pebbled shore, so do our minutes hasten to their end, each changing place with that which goes before, and sequent toil all forwards do contend. Nativity, once in the main of light, crawls to maturity, wherewith being crowned, crooked eclipse gainst the glory fight, and time that doth now his gift confound. Time doth transfix the flourish set on youth, and delves the parallels in beauty's brow, feeds on the rarities of nature's truth, and nothing stands but for his scythe to mow. And yet, and yet 2 times in hope my verse shall stand, praising thy worth despite his cruel hand. So in this first quatrain, he's comparing um, he's comparing the minutes, he's comparing time to the waves on the shore. So waves come and they go. They come in and they go out. They replace it. One goes out, a new one comes in. Same thing happens with time. 1 minute passes, another minute comes and replaces it, and so on. So time is never ending like the waves. Um, each changing place with the one that goes before. Um, and there's nothing you can toil against it all you want, but it's not going to stop. And here he mentions nativity, and that's really referring to birth. So nativity, once in the main sea of light, crawls to maturity. So when you're young, it seems like time is moving really slowly, and until you hit your maturity, and then things start to speed up. So once you get to that high point, then all of a sudden, time takes away his gift. Time takes back the gift of slow moving time. And all of a sudden, everything speeds up. In this third quatrain, he says, time doth transfix. And if you look down here at your definitions, transfix means to impale, like with a sword. So basically, time is killing youth, it's stabbing youth. And then it delves parallels in beauty's brow. So beauty's brow would be you could say it's your forehead, and time is creating a bunch of parallel lines in your forehead as you age. Time feeds on the rarities of nature's truth. So even the rarest beauty is not going to be able to withstand time. Nothing can stop the scythe that's mowing through beauty. But in the little twist that he puts in his couplet here, he says, or the couplet, and yet to time and hope my verse shall stand. And by verse, he's talking about his poem. So he's hoping time, his verse will withstand the test of time and will still be around praising the person that he's talking about in all of his poetry, despite time's the passage of time. So his hope is that his poetry will outlive its subject. So even after everybody's dead and gone, the poetry will still be around, and everybody will still know how he felt about this person. Okay. The last Shakespeare. poem. So what we have here is another aging poem, and this one, and I'm not going to go into a great deal of depth for this one. I think you can figure this one out. So in this first quatrain, he is talking about winter, where the yellow leaves are no longer on the trees, the birds are no longer in the trees singing. So he's comparing summer and winter. Winter is bad, summer is good. Um, And then in the second quatrain, he's comparing the times of day to aging. So, in me thou seest the twilight of such day as after sunset fadeth in the west. So, for those of you that don't know, twilight comes right as sunset ends. It's that time between sunset and complete dark where it's kind of blue, gray, purplish night, but it's not really dark, but it's also not really daylight. So he's actually saying that he is in the twilight of his years. He's not dead, he's not ancient, but he is getting older and he realizes that. Okay, so he is in the twilight of his years, and that's actually a term you'll still hear people use, that they're in their twilight of life. It just means that they're older, like, retirement age or, um, that type of older. In the third quatrain, he's comparing aging to fire. And if you think about how a fire starts, it actually starts with wood or coal or whatever you're using. And then it burns itself out. So the thing that used to fuel it, which would have been the wood or the coal, turns to ash, and then that is where what actually consumes the fire is the thing that once fueled it. So the ash that's left is actually what's smothering the fire out in the end. And that's what he's talking about in this one. So just like the ash of the fire eventually turns to ash, um, just like on the deathbed, you would expire. So he's comparing the ash of a fire to a deathbed. In the couplet, he said, "This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well which thou must leave ere long." So the passage of time should make love stronger, because you realize that eventually you're going to leave them or they're going to leave you. So once you perceive that that is inevitable, that will actually make you love people more. All right, Mary Roth. Her poems are a little different, but yeah, similar theme to the ones we read for Shakespeare. So, how fast thou fliest, O time, on love's swift wings, to hopes of joy that flatters our desire, which to a lover still contentment brings. Yet when we should enjoy, thou dost retire. Thou stayest thy pace, false time, from our desire, when to our ill thou hastest with eagle's wings, slow only make us see thy retire, was for despair and harm which sorrow brings. O slack thy pace, and milder pass to love, be like the bee whose wings she doth use to bring home profit, master's good prove, laden and weary, yet again pursues. So lade thyself with honey of sweet joy, and do not make me the hive of love destroy. So she's really comparing love and lust to the behavior of eagles and bees, and which one reaps the biggest benefit. So, um, new love, okay, this is new love, flies on swift wings like an eagle, and it's fueled by desire or lust. Um, and then she comes down here and she actually compares it to an eagle. So she says, thou stayest thy pace, false time. So you don't even realize how much time is passing, because desire is not, the time you're wasting on desire is not actually creating love. They're not the same thing. And the time you use on desire goes by quickly. Um, so she's comparing the swift exit of desire to eagle's wings. Slow only make us see thy retire was for despair and harm which sorrow brings. So if you act solely on desire, it's going to leave you quickly and it's going to cause pain. So she says, slow down, oh, slack thy pace, and milder pass to love. So take your time and let love happen. So less lust, more love. And she compares it to being like a bee. Work harder like a bee, bring home the profit or bring home the relationship. And yes, you're going to be laden and weary. It's hard work, but you'll be willing to pursue it again because it's good. So lade thyself with honey of sweet joy, and do not me the hive of love destroy. So work hard, build that relationship, because lust is fleeting like an eagle. Okay, it's there 1 minute, gone the next. Okay, and then in Sonnet 75, Edmund Spenser. Now, this is one, Edmund Spenser is actually writing to his wife. So we do know that all of these poems in this collection were from him to his wife. So he is actually the speaker. He's One day I wrote her name upon the strand, but came the waves and washed it away. Again I wrote it with a second hand, but came the tide and made my pains his prey. Vain man, she said, that dust and vain, I say, a mortal thing so to immortalize, for I myself shall like to this decay, and eke my name be wiped out likewise. Not so, quoth I, let baser things devise, to die in dust, but you shall live by fame. My verse your virtues rare shall eternize, and in the heavens write your glorious name, where when as death shall all the world subdue, our love shall live and later life renew. So in this first quatrain, he is trying to write her name in the sand. He wants to immortalize her in the sand, but the waves keep washing it away. So she comes along and says, hey, you're being vain. I don't want to be immortalized. I want to decay and just go away like everybody else. She's actually talking to him. That's why it's in quotes, and that's who she is. Um, so she wants her name wiped away. She doesn't want to be immortalized in the sand. She doesn't want to live forever. And then he says, not so. Let baser things are less important. Let baser things die in dust, but you shall live by fame in his verse. So he's going to immortalize her in his poetry, which apparently he's done because we're reading it. Um, he says, my verse your virtues rare shall eternize, which means to make them eternal, and in the heavens write your glorious name, where when as death shall all the world subdue, our love shall live, and later life renew. So after everything is dead and gone, their love will still live on. So the love will live forever. All right. I hope these help you analyze these poems. You need to do the comprehension check for, you should have already started on these, but you need to do it for all 5 poems. In teams, you have 3 worksheets. Some of the classes have already started on these. It really just depends where you are in the assignment. But you have, in teams, you have a craft and structure worksheet, and that goes with Sonnet 60. So if you paid attention to the video, if you pay attention to the video, and you do the comprehension check, you shouldn't have a problem doing that assignment. The craft and structure worksheet, that's pretty easy. You've got the text questions, which have a couple of questions that really only has 5 questions. Actually, this is misnumbered because I took one out. But and these cover several of the poems. And then you have the first read short response questions. And there's only 3 on there because I deleted the extended response. So as you answer these, make sure you're answering in complete sentences. And that you answer the questions completely. Make sure you read the questions. And you should be able to do these from either your readings, from my review, and you can also discuss these with your friends or other people in class and work together on these. This is not a test. So I have no problem with you working together. Just don't just don't copy somebody else's work. You actually need to learn something from this. All right. That's all I have. I will be available by email, by remind, or by Zoom at the beginning of each class period if you need me. You will have a new lesson posted next week. I'm going to change the due dates for this assignment so they will not be due until Monday for the odd period classes and Tuesday for the even classes. And if they're not turned in within 24 hours of the due date, there is a 10% penalty still. Um, so there's really no good reason for you not to get these done. This is not a difficult assignment. Definitely let me know if you have any questions, though.